Hello everyone, welcome to another live stream here at my YouTube channel. My name is Kristina Werner and tonight we're going to be playing with some stencils. We're going to do some stenciling, some ink blending, and hopefully by the end of the live stream I will have 3 completed cards. So before we get into the actual live stream, I want to let you guys know upcoming things coming. We have mail call, live mail call this Wednesday at 7 p.m. I haven't scheduled it at YouTube yet, so you'll see that pop up probably tomorrow. It'll pop up in your YouTube feeds that the live mail call will be happening on Wednesday evening. Basically just an hour later than my usual live time on Monday nights. So right now it's 6 p.m. On Wednesday, I'm going to be opening the mail and seeing what you sent me for the theme in December. We're going to be opening all the mail on Wednesday night. So I hope you'll come back and join me. The other little bit of kind of housekeeping that I need to announce is that here at my YouTube channel for my premium membership, there are 2 levels. There's Supporter and then Supporter Plus. The Supporter Plus level is the one that comes with mail art each month. And being sick at the end of last year, I never got to share mail art with all of my Supporter Plus members. So if any of you were interested in becoming a Supporter Plus member, even if just for the month of January, this would be a great time to do it, because for the next 2 weekends on Saturday and Sunday mornings at 10 a.m., I'm going to be going live and creating mail art just for those Supporter Plus members. So if you've ever been interested in trying out my premium membership here, this would be a good month to try it out, especially if you want to try out that the higher level, which I think is like $9.99 a month, I think. And with that, with the regular base level at $5 a month, you get 2 member live streams. And then we also do a Zoom call, which technically is just a bonus. Like I can't include that as part of the, like what you get here at YouTube, because not everyone can go to the Zoom call, and we don't record the Zoom call. You have to be there. It's just an extra perk. So, the main level is those 2 live streams. We have a lot of fun and we get to know each other well. If the chat goes a little bit fast here on a regular live stream, you might enjoy the live streams for the membership, because there are less people watching, and so the chat goes a little bit slower. It's a little bit easier to get your questions in and whatnot. And then if you do the higher level, the Supporter Plus, that comes with a mail art video every month, which moving forward into the rest of, forever, they're going to be live streams, just because it's easier for me to set aside the time to make that mail art live with all of you. So if you want to try that out, there should be a join button somewhere around where you're watching this. And if not, check the video description. And there is a link there that says, join my premium membership or whatever. Also, I'm doing a member retreat coming up in 2026. And you will have to be a member of my premium membership to have details on that if you'd like to come. Tonight, my cards are going to be I'm going to be using on my cards the the Trees and Forest stencil pack. This was from my, I think it was October release. Never really got to share any of the actual live crafting on a card with you all. And I think her name was Debbie, one very persistent person who bought these stencils, and she emailed me and was like, I really want to see these be used. So we're going to make some cards with these stencils tonight. And I thought it'd be a good way to show how this is sort of a wintry, almost Christmas themed item, but you can use it all year round. Okay, so here we go. All right, so I'm going to use my Altenew grip mat. This is so helpful when you're doing really large stencils like this. I'm going to get that to stick to my glass mat here. Okay. And then I have a piece of white cardstock here. This is Neenah Classic Crest Solar White 110-pound cardstock. So there are 4 stencils in this stencil set. You can kind of see where they're at. Now the first stencil that we want, well, it really doesn't matter which one you use, really. You could go whatever direction you want. But I like to start with the one that has the biggest section. So if I line them up, you probably won't be able to see it a whole lot because whatever. But if I line them up like this, it creates the full thing. You kind of see a little bit of that light coming through. Anyway, this is the stencils are not numbered. If you want to number your stencils, you definitely can. I'm just going to start with the one that has the biggest area up at the top that's open. I'm going to get this positioned on my grip mat here. Let's get some inks here. I've chosen 4 inks for kind of a really non-holiday color palette. This is a very generic color palette. Really pretty though. I really love it. And this is the order that they're going to appear on the design as well. So this is the top area. So I'm going to be using Harbor. I'm going to walk you through all of this ink blending while the video is sped up. I thought it would just be a little bit easier. So I started with this first stencil. I ink blended that Harbor, just concentrated right at the tree line. Brought in the next stencil, lined that up, and then ink blended with Grapefruit. For this ink blending, I was going for a very solid, flat amount of color, not much variation in the application. I then moved on to the third color, which is Sorbet. And once again, very flat color, not looking for a large variation in application. And then for this last section, I used the color Fig. And as I was applying it, I just found myself concentrating the color at the trees and letting it fade a little bit to the bottom. And I thought that looked really, really neat. And so I wanted to redo the entire ink blending in a different way. So here's one where it's a little more flat. Now I'm going to do the same ink blending, but I'm going to have the color concentrated at the trees for each level. So I'm starting with that color Fig once again, just right at the bottom. And then I'm going to move on to the next stencil, which, if you remember, is Sorbet. So I'm concentrating that ink color at the trees on the top line, and then I'm letting it fade kind of down to white or nothing down where the purple trees start. And this really almost gives it a look of like fog in the valleys between the trees. I thought that description that was shared in the live chat was perfect. And also it even gives it more of a southwestern Sedona type of look. I think it looks really, really neat. Kind of has a mysterious look to it. So there we go. Let's look at these two side by side. Just with like changing how you apply the inks, you get completely different looks. That's kind of crazy. So I'm only going to be doing a A2 card front this time. So I have my card front. It's that 110-pound cardstock. It's going to be this one that has the biggest opening at the top. And I'm going to position this where it's kind of, you guys see where that is underneath? I'm going to put the line of trees about right there. Now this is on top of my paper. I'm not going to, once I get to that point in my blending, I'm going to move the stencil away. But I'm going to do the same order. I'm going to have it be Fig down here at the bottom. It's going to go to Sorbet, Grapefruit, and then to Harbor at the top. So I'm starting with Fig. And we want a really soft blend in all of these colors. So I'm still going to use those same big blending brushes. For this ink blending, I only wanted to use one stencil and have a nice transition of color through the entire sky area. So I concentrated Fig down at the trees. Then I brought in Sorbet and kind of brought that across the card front. Now I thought about using Grapefruit as well, but then I realized that Grapefruit was just a lighter color Sorbet. So I really could just blend out the Sorbet to a very light shade and I could skip the Grapefruit. And then I moved on to Harbor. So I removed the stencil at this point because there was that light bar at the top. and I needed to be able to ink blend in that area. So I removed the stencil and then just blended down that light blue color into the sorbet and fig. All right, so there is our other card front. Now I'm going to be doing some white heat embossing on both of these like backgrounds. So I need to make sure that they are completely dry before I move on. So I'm going to have to hit this with my heat tool quite a bit, most likely. All right. Okay, so let's do some testing. Before I do any stamping, put some powder tool on. And we want to make sure that embossing powder slides right off. Oh yeah, that slid right off on that one side. Let's test this other side. Looks like some of it's collecting right up here, but it comes off when I tap it, so that's good. And I'm getting powder everywhere, so that's cute. Well, I guess I can cut this one apart, right? Because it's exactly 2 A2 card fronts. All right, so I've got 2 card fronts now. So we have our 3 card fronts that we're working with. For the stamps, let's just work on one card at a time, or rather, these 2 are together. I'm going to be using the Mixed Greetings Love stamp set. We're going to use the I Just Love Who You Are stamp. It fills an A2 card beautifully. So I'm first going to stamp this greeting in fig. All right. I'll stamp a couple of times. I missed the right edge of the T right there. That's better. It looks pretty good just with the fig, actually. But now I'm going to dry it with my heat tool. And we'll have to test it again to make sure that it's safe to do our heat embossing. That's looking pretty dry. I'm going to move this out of the way so I can test the embossing powder. Using my anti-static powder tool again. And then let's just make sure nothing sticks. Looks pretty good. All right, so back to my MISTI, and I'm going to move my stamp so that it'll look like a shadow. So I want it about, all right, so that's just on top. Yeah, I think that's about right. Okay, and now do my anti-static powder tool one more time. And then I'm going to stamp in white pigment ink, just so we can really see where it's stamped. Well, can't really see it too much, but it'll be white once we add the embossing powder on top. Okay, you can sort of see how white it is now, a little bit. That looks kind of cool just as is, right? That looks really cool, actually. There we go. That's what we want. I could have moved the card instead of the stamp, but I wanted a little more control. Okay. that turned out really, really well. It's a little bit mottled, but I don't mind it. That kind of goes with like the Southwest vibe we've got going. I think it looks really cool. The other half of that ink blending on the stencil. Okay, for this one, I'm going to take this I Love You, and it's going to go right out there. And then a happy little Valentine's Day right underneath it. And then this little heart. Prep that area with anti-static powder. And then stamp in white pigment ink once again. I'm going to stamp this a couple of times just to make sure it has the best chance. I'm going to stamp that one more time. Okay, this is Alabaster embossing powder from Brutus Monroe, by the way. Pretty cute. One more that we need to do some heat embossing, and then we will put these on card fronts. We have our ink blended one like this. All right, and for this one, I'm gonna switch it up and use a different stamp set. All right, we're gonna use the Sending Trio stamp set for this other card. It's gonna be really, really close. And so I can't stamp them together, is what I mean. Back to the white pigment ink. All right, now I can see the sending showing up a little bit more. Love that. So I'm using the word resilience. Sending resilience. A lot of people I know right now are having a tough time for various reasons. And they just need some resilience, you know, hang in there. And I think also this scene with the ink blend is very calming, right? I'm gonna stamp that 3 times, just like I did with the sending. Okay. We're gonna put these on card fronts, and then I thought I'd do just a little bit of embossing powder. No, I'm not embossing powder, embossing paste through a stencil just on one of them. Okay. Look how smooth that embossing is. Sometimes it just amazes me how well like white pigment ink does with embossing powder. It blows my mind. I like to do close to all 4 edges and then like 3 diagonal down the middle for the adhesive. Okay. I was thinking I would do my finishing touches stencils. If I can find them. Where are they? There they are. And put like a little dashed line around the outside of this one. But I thought I would try some Altenew embossing paste. Have like one of these elastic bands. I think my friend Sika gave me one of these. Is that right? Thanks, Sika. I've found that it keeps the embossing paste from drying out. Oh yeah, it looks lovely. Okay. All right, and then you just do like a really thin application of the embossing paste in those little stitched line grooves. You don't need very much of this paste at all. You very quickly, oh, I think I pulled up some of the paste. I totally did. I pulled up paste with it. That's okay. I will fill it in with white gel pen. This is what happens. It worked great over here, but it pulled up right through there, right down here and right here. I probably should have let it sit on the paper a little longer. All right, so here are the 3 Stencils cards for tonight. I love how they turned out. I think they look really different from the original ink blend that I was planning to do. I really love the gradients on these 2 right here. I think they turned out fantastic. And I love that I was able to get 2 cards out of 1 stenciling. And then this one worked up so fast because it was just the 1 card front and 1 ink blend. There was no switching of stencils. I think it turned out really cool. So once again, the stencil set is called Trees and Forest Stencil Pack. I used the Sending Trio stamps for this card, and then I used the, let's see, Mixed Greetings Love stamps for these 2 cards, as well as my Finishing Touches stencils for the dash lines. For any other like supplies or anything else I've used, you'll find that down in the video description in the supply section. And I will see you on Wednesday. This coming up on Wednesday at 7 p.m. for live mail call. I'll be opening the mail. I hope you'll stop by and see what your fellow card makers have been making. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.